Hey, babe, what's up? Okay, this is just I'm like glowing. I like can't stop smiling. I have two guests on today's interview, two women who, gosh, their passion and purpose, like what they care so much about, it's like freaking like it's contagious, and like the only best way can get a contagion can be anyway. Anyways, like it really is though. Like every time I get off a call with them, I am sitting a little taller, flying a little higher, buzzing a little bit faster. And Brad actually joined today's interview as well. So we have a foursome. In fact, I met Kelly because of Brad, and Kelly and Brad go way back in time. And Kelly is such a connector, which is why we're probably like just two like kindred spirits there. But Kelly and Marisa have this amazing company, Barely Canadian, which you're going to hear about. And I really can't wait for you to hear how they answer all of my questions, because I think that too often we're trying to figure out, how do we organize all the thoughts? How do we organize all the dots before we start something? And that's not how things work. And even if you could connect all the dots, even if you had everything in place and you're like, okay, I've got the plan. Here it is. Something is going to come and rip that plan right out. Water's going to spill on that plan. You're going to lose a couple of those dots, and that's okay. And that's what makes that, but it's also what makes you realize what's worth fighting for. And so these two women are super, super passionate about foster youth and the organizations Kids Save and Echoes of Hope. And they have a social enterprise, which is like they created a product that I can't wait for you to touch in your own lives. And it supports these organizations. And, you know, now more than ever, I think it's really important that we follow our passions and our purpose. And it really does make you light up and make you want to show up when you're scared to death to do something. So these two women are really doing something for a great cause, and they don't have all the answers to how they're going to do things, but they are being it till they see it as they do it. And I'm really passionate about what they're doing. Brad and I are so freaking stoked to be working with them and finding different ways to collaborate with them. And I can't wait for you to also witness that journey. Because we are still figuring it out. And that is what makes it super, super fun. And I can't wait to see how we can continue to support them in all our ways with our Profitable Lives business and with OPC. The more time and more excuses I can do to spend time with these women and what they're doing, I will. So without further ado, here is our first two guest interview, and with Brad joining in. So it's a special treat, and I hope you enjoy it. And I really can't wait to hear your takeaways. Please tag us, tag Barely Canadian, and let us know how this affected you, how this helped you, how this showed you some light and some inspiration. All right. Thank you so much. Here it is.
Welcome to the Be It Till You See It podcast, where we talk about taking messy action, knowing that perfect is boring. I'm Lesley Logan, Pilates instructor and fitness business coach. I've trained thousands of people around the world, and the number one thing I see stopping people from achieving anything is self-doubt. My friends, action brings clarity, and it's the antidote to fear. Each week, my guests will bring bold, executable, intrinsic, and targeted steps that you can use to put yourself first and be it till you see it. It's a practice, not a perfect. Let's get started.
All right. Be it till you see it, listeners. We have a very exciting adventure for you right now. There's not only one guest, there are two guests, and Brad's joining us. So we have an actual foursome on this podcast. We've got Kelly Slattery and Marisa Polvino. I hope I said their names correctly. And I am just really delighted to bring these two women to you. They are doing something so amazing, and just proof that like taking an idea and just going for it, no matter how many obstacles or what people might think about going into a somewhat crowded market. And they're doing it because they care so much about a special cause, which I'm going to let them tell you about. But I had to have these women on because I think they're going to inspire you to be it till you see it and not let anything get in your way. So Kelly and Marisa, thanks for being here. Can you each introduce yourselves?
Yeah, Marisa, you go ahead.
What?
I always talk first. I just realized that I'm going to be a gentle lady and say, you talk first.
Good morning, Be It Till You See It, people. My name is Marisa Polvino. I am a film producer and content creator. I have a company called Straight Up Impact, which creates thought-provoking content around global issues that are most urgent. I also make films, but I've been over the years moving more into the social impact space because my heart and my soul needs to be a little more fulfilled than what the customary film industry can do to one's heart and soul. And Kelly and I have been friends for a long time. And when she launched Barely Canadian as a social enterprise company, I immediately wanted to jump on board with her and help build out some of the most snuggly, softest, comfy wear ever, but also one that provides money towards foster youth and supporting foster youth. And I happened to be making a short film about uncovering the systemic issues in the foster care system and what we can do as a community to come together and help these foster youth live a fruitful, powerful, beautiful life after the foster care system, after they age out. Oh. So that's about me. And you can find me on Instagram at Marisa Polvino and at Straight Up Impact.
Amazing. Okay. I want to dive into that, but we have to hear about from Kelly first. So Kelly, tell us how you got here.
Oh gosh, such a tale. I'm Canadian. My name is Kelly Slattery, and I came to America because I had a song on a Lionsgate soundtrack, American Psycho 2, and I was an artist in Canada. So I was like, I'm going to move illegally to America, to your country. And so I made the journey. It was interesting that later on in life, I actually wrote a TV show about that experience of being an illegal alien. It was about an illegal Canadian who moves in with a legal Mexican family and works them in construction. We did sell it to ABC. I had the co-creator of 2.5 Men and Big Bang as my showrunner. So I went from then I started producing films. I was a founder of a company that we produced for Dave Grohl. We did Sound City, we did Sonic Highways, but I left actually pretty much when I sold that show that I had written. And then we had another. Anyways, I've always been involved in entertainment as a songwriter, as a singer, as a producer, and as a writer. And when we adopted our kids, initially my daughter, from foster care at the age of 16, I decided to convert my life to service. And so I joined the nonprofit space, which was really interesting and really challenging. And it's unique. Let me just leave it there as calling it a very unique space, Yeah. But I learned a lot, and I learned that what I really want to do is something that makes a difference in the world. I always reference this film I had done for Lionsgate that I produced in Michigan. It was overnights. It was winter. It was exterior. It was awful because it was freezing and just like physically traumatic, I would say, just the cold, even as a Canadian, which is why I'm called Barely Canadian, because I'm always freezing. But anyways, I realized this ended up in the Walmart bin for $2.99 on sale. I gave 2 years of my life and my heart to this. I'm not doing this anymore. So trying to really find purpose in my life. When we adopted our son, we're actually in the process of adopting our son, but when we brought him into our family, we wanted to show them that an idea can become something, and just with little steps and progression and just like due diligence of basic, actions every day or every week, you can build something. So that was the purpose of Barely Canadian, was to show them how to be entrepreneurs, how to acquire basic business skills. And anyways, long and short, people really liked the product, and boom, it became a company. And we give 20% back to foster youth. And Marisa started coming to the pop-ups I was doing, and she just was like, I love everything about this. Can I participate? I'm like, hell yeah.
Did you know each other prior?
Yeah, we had been engaged in some film projects together, and just became really fast friends when Marisa moved out here from New York.
Yeah, I moved to New York, and Kelly was one of the first people that I met outside. Well, within industry, but outside of the industry friends that I had when I moved here, and we fell in love immediately. It really was a love at first sight.
Well, you all have that, because Brad's known Kelly for a long time, but as soon as I got on a call with you both, I'm like, oh, I'm in love with these women. These women are amazing. We are donating to their cause.
She was talking about you both for like a day and a half later. She's really a great combo.
We can find kindred spirits, right? Like, I think we connect because we're connected already, I think, and we're taken by your gorgeous red hair. So that's why we're here. outside of
Scottish heritage.
Yeah. And then with Marisa, the whites of her eyes were so white, and I didn't want to shoot, but honestly, the whites of her eyes are so white. It's extraordinary. I remember that when I first met her.
Oh, ladies, I love you. So I want to go, Marisa, you said something, and maybe the two of you can talk about this. I kind of feel like doing a social enterprise, working in a nonprofit space, trying to make an impact, you almost have to be like, act as if what you're doing is making the difference that you are hoping it makes someday, because it is so, I don't know, I want to answer the question for you, but I feel like it's so hard to show up every day for a cause that has so much systemic problems that if you don't act as if it's like what you're doing is making the difference on a daily basis, it's kind of hard. So can you speak to that? Like, what does it take to, I think a lot of people want to be part of social impact, and like, what does it take to do that? Like, how do you start?
You want me to start?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think everything is hard, right? Whatever you endeavor to do it is like pushing that boulder up the hill. And finding certain projects, be it in the film side of things or in an apparel line, if you have a passion around what that product is bringing to the marketplace, and if you strongly believe that messaging, that brand messaging around it, any kind of a product, is one that the world needs and that it can enact a change that is most vital, then it's easy to get behind it, because everything is difficult. And, somebody many, many years ago, one, the persistence of vision, but two, like, if you do what you love, the money, the success, whatever it is that you're hoping to achieve from it will follow. And to not just lead with your passion, lead with what you love to do and what the messaging is and what that content, that material, that apparel, whatever that is, brings to the world, can add value to your soul and add value to your audience that you're presenting it to. And I think what's really easy is, like, I'm wearing this sweatshirt. Yes, it is like shameless promotion, but it's also like really super comfortable. I was taking my dog for a walk earlier. I had this on. I'm like, oh, I was not intending to wear it, but I'm like, oh my God, it's so comfortable. I don't want to take it off.
Okay. And so I have to say yes, because I have 3 Barely Canadian sweaters and I wore them 5 days in a row. Like I went through a cycle.
I was waiting. Actually, Lesley text saying, you need one for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like the designated. And I thought we should do that. Remember how they used to do underwear?
Yes.
Yeah, the labeled underwear. I was just thinking that. Good
I'm
idea.
so glad you picked up on that, because I was like, I hope she knows what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you were a kid, the underwear. The days.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea as a fun little throwback, though.
I love it.
Why not?
Somehow I missed that one.
I don't think they had it for the boys. I think it was 80s girls.
You guys have Wonderoos? We had Wonderoos.
Wonderoos. No idea what that is.
It's got to be a Northeast thing.
Superhero underwear.
So Kelly, you started Barely Canadian. Before that, you mentioned you wrote songs, and you have this incredible story about like a vision you had. You were in your grandmother's house, and can you actually talk about that? Because I do think Barely Canadian came from all the little steps along the way. So can we go back in time a little bit?
It's so funny you should say that too, because I do think that Barely Canadian is everything I tend to do is like an ode to my country. Like it's always like a salute, some kind of callback, some kind of like love letter, to Canada. But when I had wanted, ultimately, I'll go back even a little bit more just to disappoint you in lengthening this story. But so I had moved to Ottawa. I had heard about an open mic across the street. A friend of mine said, you should go. I said, no, I'm not, I don't sing anymore. Long and short, she made me go. The place asked me to start playing there the next day. I hadn't like sung in forever. My sister came down, heard me playing at this residency, and bought me a guitar. And she said, you need to actually learn how to play the guitar because you cannot depend on other people. From that moment, 9 months later, I recorded my very first album. I'd written all the songs. I recorded the album, and suddenly I found myself in HMV Superstore. I was the only album Blockbuster carried nationally, but I did all of that myself, right? So I believe in. I think that was the empowering moment. You learn how to play the guitar. You learn how to record yourself. You learn how to do all of this shit, because if you think you can bank on anybody else, you cannot. And it's really empowering, as disabling as that might feel. So for me, I had received this guitar. My grandmother had passed. I'm sitting, as I often say, amongst a garden of clothes on the floor, just kind of distraught, but watching the Grammys on this really shitty TV. And I thought, I'm going to go there. Like, I'm going to go there one day for sure. And I wrote this song called My Life. This life is on its way. It's actually on my first album. And it was like this kind of up, happy song. Cut to 2 years later, I'm invited to the Grammys by EMI, which was pretty incredible. Then cut to about 15 years later, and we had done a film with Dave Grohl that the album was nominated for a Grammy. And so we went to the Grammys. And coincidentally, I brought Marisa as my date.
I love it.
That's right. I remember that.
Great.
How about that?
Yeah. So, manifestation, I totally believe that it comes from a deep-rooted place. And that which you focus on will most certainly reveal itself. But at the same time, if you don't focus on it for a moment, don't worry. Like, your path is there. The road is windy. The road is rough. I feel like there's a rhyme in there somewhere that I should finish with.
But I thank you for sharing that, because I do think a lot of people think it's so linear. I don't know why we think anything is linear. Nothing is ever done that way. Like, but we anticipate that. And so when we hit an obstacle or we get distracted or something in life happens and we have to take a pause from that. Thank you for sharing that. Like, don't worry. The path is there, because sometimes it picks up in a spot we didn't realize, So, okay. I want to talk about, you both got involved, maybe for different reasons, and I would love to hear it, in helping foster youth. And I want to hear, like, what was that? Because I think some people, we've had people on before talking about working with charities and things like that. And it's like, there's so many things you could be focusing on. Like Marisa said, she wants to make an impact. There are so many problems in the world. How did you choose this? What led you to that? And can you share more about that?
I've always had an obsession with this notion within America, which is family is everything. And this obsession that there's a whole population of young kids. If family is everything and I don't have it, where does that leave me? Right. Yeah. So I've always just kind of really focused on that. And when I first moved to America, I tried to start a charity called Home Base. And it was, you don't have to make a commitment to have children live in your home, but how about you just become a home base? How about at Christmas, on their birthday, they have somebody that they can connect with, somebody when they want to buy their first car. How do I go about doing that? So that was what Home Base was about. And in the process of trying to put this together, a friend of mine was on the board of Echoes of Hope, which is coincidentally one of the charities that we do support through our efforts at Barely Canadian. And said, why reinvent the wheel? A really good friend of mine has this nonprofit. Why don't you meet with her? Her name is Stacia Robitaille, who I now call Sissy, because she is like my sissy. And we first met, we just had this immediate connection, as we do, with those people that are meant to be in our lives. So I started volunteering with foster youth. I'd always wanted to adopt a foster child. And coincidentally, I think what helped put that into place was meeting my husband on our very first date, learning that his mother was in foster and learning that he also wanted to adopt a foster child. So that was a big deal for me, because as you get older and you decide to focus on career instead of personal life, you think, gosh, I've missed the opportunity to have a child, but I've always wanted to adopt and have a child. I hope I can meet a guy that is okay with me not being able to have my own child, right? That's the big fear for women as you get older. And so to actually have that first date with him, and that was very important to him and a goal of his as well in life, was incredible. So cut to 3 years into our marriage, we started to begin the process of becoming a foster parent, which is a very long process, but a very worthy process. And like anything else, little steps and suddenly you're there, after a year's time. And of course, we are a foster adopt family. We have fostered a couple of other kids and adopting our son, and we have adopted our daughter. So, the whole population of foster youth out there, it's important to us. We helped our kids, and our kids helped us find our forever home, because truly KidSave created our family for us. But within Barely Canadian,
KidSave is the organization.
Yeah, KidSave is how you can meet older kids to adopt, because otherwise they're going to age out. And so, it was just
Can you
really,
talk a little bit more about this age out thing and just, what does that mean? I think a lot of people understand, like I grew up hearing about adopting, and then I sort of heard about fostering, but didn't really understand the concept of it. And I certainly never understood the ramifications of aging out.
Yeah. So if you don't find a forever family, by the time you hit 18 years old, even if you're in a foster home that you might have been domiciled for 5 years, but that family more often than not go, okay, you're 18, see you later. And they don't have
domiciled means actually living with a family,
living within that home, within that family. But by the time they're 18, it's like, okay, sorry, but we're not kind of covering this anymore. I think some people, quite sadly, foster because it's an income for them versus wanting to really help a child.
Yeah. So while the kid's with the family, they're getting the family's getting a check.
The family is, and by the way, it's a minuscule check. It's nothing that's going to be substantial. But if you are super low income and maybe even disabled, sometimes it's extra income for them. And I've met people that were super low income and not necessarily physically capable who are incredible foster parents. So it's not to say that that's always the case.
Yeah. I don't want to paint a bad light, but
not at all.
There is some.
But the way the system works, when they turn 18, no matter unless the person that is with them is able to afford to keep taking care of them and has the space, they're going to age out because they're no longer being supported by the system.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I mean, it may simply be a matter of finances as well. Maybe they cannot continue to afford to support them.
Well, there you go. There's a plethora of reasons. And so it's, when you age out, the state does give the child some money, depending on the state, is how much money they're going to give them. They do have health care to their, 25. They do have, a train ticket or bus pass or whatever. But think about, what is it? Maybe $1,000 that they get a month. You're 18 years old. Think about, yes, our generation also, if you had parents, we felt very capable of leaving the house at that time. We also knew we had this amazing safety net behind us. These kids do not at all. So, so we want to help kids. We want to encourage people to be open to learning about Kid Safe, which is you go on the weekends, you meet these kids, you play board games with them, make vision boards, get to know who they are. And you might even feel inspired and think, I think I could be that child's parent. And that's what those meetings are about. Kid Save actually has a Emmy-winning documentary on A&E that we were actually featured in about the process of adopting. And it's really, really interesting. Some kids get adopted, some kids don't. But part of what we want to do at Barely Canadian is if you don't find your forever home with the family, it doesn't mean you can't create your own forever home. And so we want to help with that, hence our Fosterpreneur program that we're developing. Here's how you can do it on your own. You don't have to bank on other people, right? Kind of coming back to that. If you don't have the family to bank on yourself, and still always bank on yourself.
Yeah. Always bank on yourself.
Yeah. Marisa.
I think what's interesting, just to add on that, is, these kids in foster care, they have a staff of people. They have their CASA, they have their social worker, they have their therapists, their attorneys. They have a whole staff.
Wow.
But they don't have a person. Who's that person that's in their life that is without economic gain, right? Who's that person that's not there to get the paycheck to be there for that kid? And where's the community around that child or those groups of children that can give them the love, the self-worth, the community, the skill set, so that when they do age out, they have a shot out there and they're not then repurposing the foster care system, because a lot of these kids that don't have that come out with substance abuse problems. They're teen mothers. Those kids go back into the foster care system. And so it's a vicious cycle. So giving these kids, through this fosterpreneurial program, giving them the skill set and the self-value, the self-worth to actually follow a dream, see it through, and create a life for themselves outside of a system is a real huge goal. And we think what we can do as just individuals, a couple of people providing this life for kids outside of a system, to give them something so much more than living off of a system that's not really there to support them.
And to kind of piggyback on that, just that we're just learning e-commerce. we're just figuring this out, and it's new to us. So I think there's value to that when teaching a young person, gosh, I'm, how much older than you, and I'm just learning this. You're young with a fresh mind. You grew up with technology. So also kind of like, I think adults showing that vulnerability, like we're just figuring this out too. And I think it's a great way it's been a great way for my kids to learn, as Marisa knows them well, just seeing how they've found growth and knowledge through this process.
I think you're 100% correct there, because so many times I work with people and they're like, well, who am I to teach so-and-so? I'm just started. And it's like, you just have to be one step ahead. And, this one woman I listened to on a podcast, I can't remember which episode it was, but she said, if you want to learn the piano, you're not going to hire Billy Joel to teach you, right? Like you're going to hire someone who knows the key, like the first few keys, like that's who's going to teach you. And then you'll, and either they'll grow and you grow with them, or you find the next one. But like, I think that vulnerability is so great for kids to see, and also see that like not everyone knows everything, and the people doing it are often making big guesses. And so it kind of allows them, maybe it ditches imposter syndrome or allows them to see possibility. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And it's funny you should say that too, because it's also fun to do things together. So even though we'll be a little bit a step ahead, when you have somebody doing it with you, it feels safer. It feels like you have that team, you have that support. And that's something I'm really enjoying with Marisa wanting to get involved in the company. It's fun to bounce something off somebody, and it's fun to have that support. And also even, parents tend to be accountability coaches. So that's the other thing that you kind of offer when you're teaching a young person. So, but yeah, we're excited. We're building this out and we're pumped, and we can't wait to talk to you guys more about it as well, knowing that you also do business coaching, in a really, really unique way.
Well, before we get into the fosterpreneur concept, which I think is really exciting, and I can't wait to hear more about, the adoption or the excitement of the customers looking at Barely Canadian. Do you think that the social aspect of the company as a whole and the story behind it are what are lighting people up? Or is it really like the sweaters are just that amazing? Or is it a combination of both?
First of all, when people feel our product, they literally go, oh my God, this is so soft. We're all about soft and cozy and the feeling of home, right? Because we're all about finding forever home. So it's all about feeling at home. But I definitely think that our kind of unique proposition, as it were, is that we are in fact an authentic story. I mean, we started this to teach the kids. We really are a foster adopt family. Coincidentally, Marisa is doing this documentary on foster care and learning so much about it that she's feeling fired up. So I think when we, I do think when we shared the story of how we came to be, why we came to be, which if I might make mention, we're Barely Canadian because I am always freezing, as I kind of intimated off the top. But additionally, my husband was like, we just need to make you some summer mittens, summer sweaters for a California summer, because you just cannot handle it. And that's our first product, are these super soft sweaters and super soft smittens that Lesley was wearing. And she gave us this great line. She was like, I've been smitten, and we're starting to use that. I love it.
That's funny.
But I think all of those really authentic pieces make a difference. That is what makes us stand out. So in answer to your question, I think it is definitely those pieces folded in and presented in the package of real and heart directed. Would you agree, Marisa?
Absolutely. I think, in talking about a crowded marketplace, like, there's a brand that continues to come up every time. I'm not going to give them any kind of nod on this because it's all about Barely Canadian. But, there's the brands that come up and there's the comps, like, well, is it this, or does it fit like that? Or,
sure.
How much of it is sustainable? And there's, all of the things that come up, and it's like, we are our brand. It's super soft. It's very comfy. We're giving back to foster youth. We love it. You're going to love it. And it's for everybody. There's not just one demographic that's being targeted. Everybody wants to feel soft and cozy and warm and feel like family. And that's what this brand is all about.
Your sweatshirts are unisexy, correct?
Unisexy. And it's unisexy.
Yeah, they are.
Very unisexy. And luckily, it's okay for boys to wear rainbows. today.
Yeah.
So when I first saw Barely Canadian, it was through, I think, an email, or maybe it was a post by Stacia, and I just clicked it and opened it, and I saw, that you were, I don't know if she was talking about you, or somehow I knew you were involved, Kelly. And I just opened up your Instagram and I was looking at it and I was like, this is so cool, and I was really connected to the colors of it, and I saved it and I showed it to Lesley, and it wasn't for like another month that I actually looked at your website. And when I went to the website, I didn't actually know any of the story, and I started reading a little more, and I started to understand, like, oh wow, it's almost as if the profit of it was like the last thing. It wasn't driven by this idea of like, I'm going to start a business so I can go make money. Like it doesn't come across that way. And that was really interesting to me as an entrepreneur who I've started like a lot of businesses to do exactly that. And this was really a surprise. And then the more I started understanding it, I thought, what a cool example for, some kids, plus, what a cool project to have with them, because it made me then begin to wonder, like, who built the website? Was it you or was it the kids? Or like, who wrote the copy? Was it them? Like, who picks the products? Was it them? Obviously they're in like the photos of the trying the things on. I thought, man, this is a really interesting journey. And I think it's really amazing, and when we got the products, it was like, okay, all right, this is cool.
I love that observation because I hadn't framed it that way before, but that is exactly how it happened. So I just love that you're kind of helping us even understand. Oh, you're right. We kind of went backwards, right? We started with, let's do this for the kids. We want to do something for the kids. Oh, right. Now this is a business. How cool is that? And so, no, I love that. I really appreciate that insight. You guys are very good at perspective, marketing, and cool things. Yeah.
I think also like through the, this is a new thing. And as you were talking just about being an entrepreneur, right? And trying a lot of different businesses, I think a part of one is like figuring out what is our competitive edge. We don't know. So it's about trial and error and getting products, and maybe, the rainbow on the back of this sweatshirt isn't big enough. So yesterday we were together, and how can we like augment, like turn it into lemonade, right? It's not perfect, but let's add to it that just enhances kind of what our messaging is. Let's take it and evolve it and learn as we go. And we're like, oh, next time we'll do it this way, but then maybe the zippers won't be right. So then figure out how to make the zippers right. And the whole thing is like an entrepreneur and building a business. It's like, shit's going to go wrong. Yeah. And you have to pick up and roll with it and figure out how to make it right.
Yeah. Now you got 100 sweaters that have the thing wrong. And you're like, oh my God, what do we do with all these? We put the money in, we got to get rid of them somehow. It's like, it's a journey.
Yeah. I mean, we've gone into what we do create product. And it's an interesting process, I'll say, but we around here like to say perfect is boring. And like all of our merch that says it, people look at it weird because it's on backwards. And I was at the TSA and I was like showing the guy my ID, and he's like looking at me, and like, you never want the TSA guy to look at you funny. Like, that's not a good sign. And I was like, what? He goes, what does your hat say? And I was like, oh, he's like, perfect is boring. Dude, you had me scared. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting pulled into a room. But we say that, and I say that because like, the rainbow might not be perfect, but like, is there a perfect rainbow? No, like all the rainbows are different. Like, and I do think, what I love what you're talking about, I hope everyone who's listening is hearing this, they didn't actually have all of the plans in place. They're like, we love helping this group of people. We want to create something that helps this group of people. And we like soft things. So this is what we're going to start with. And so like, I think
that's exactly it.
I think and we're always cold.
Yeah. We're always cold. I've been wearing my Spens around the house, and I'm like, this is perfect. 'Cause it's a Vegas house. So it's too cold. It's too cold. You have the AC on, or now it's, 40 degrees outside. So, but I think people get stuck on, well, I have to have it all figured out. I have to make sure I have all the things in place. And like, more than ever, I think it's actually just about getting started and putting the thing out there and hearing what the questions are. Cause then you hear people go, well, like, what's this? Is it like this? And then you can, like, however you argue back or whatever you say back helps you identify another answer.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's so true. And then it's funny because when we do introduce Kids Save and Echoes of Hope to other organizations or companies, like your incredible company, both of your companies and your multiple companies, people are inspired and they want to get behind it. You guys made an actual substantial donation, in December. It was really incredible. And so for us, that was we'd been alive for all of 3 months. So we kicked off end of September. I had some serious health issues in October. And then by December, we were able to donate to both, nonprofits. Wow. And, but that was just one piece of it. But then you guys did this massive surprise of like, what? Kids Save what? Oh, Echoes, and giving these donations. Anyways, those are the feels. That's what it's all about for us, So you're right. When you're leading with the heart, when you're leading with the true messaging, purpose, and derivative of why this all began, that's when you'll always win. It's almost like when you're writing, like in television, you have that log line. That log line is so hard to do, right? It's such a hard, succinct thing to really pack everything into a sentence or two.
Yeah, I was going to say for Tracy out there, I'm stealing from Smartless. From Smartless here.
For Tracy,
explain to us what a log line is.
All right, let's talk to Tracy.
Let's talk to Tracy in Milwaukee. What do you want?
Yeah, what's up, Milwaukee? But it's like as you're going along, always go back. What is that log line? You can't completely depart from that. And that's similar to if it's all about the heart, it's all about doing something that makes you feel like you're doing something right in this world. Stick with that. Always make certain you stay at the core of it. That's what I think
we would call our listeners probably be more familiar with an elevator pitch, where it's like, right. How do you explain it in 1 or 2 sentences?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true.
So Marisa, you're working on a documentary. Is that how you got attracted to this particular cause, or like, because I think, you saw this and you're like, I'm jumping on board with that. And I want to point that out because I do think sometimes people, maybe don't know how to become part of something. And so I want to kind of go to like, how did you go? Okay, Kelly, I'm in.
Well, one, in terms of foster care in general, I've been watching Kelly. I've gone to some of the fundraisers, and I've also been with her through this process of her adopting now both of these kids. And it's really incredible what it takes to become a foster parent. How much and how difficult, they don't make it easy. Right? And these kids are also coming from a place of trauma, and taking that in and taking that on is something really incredible. And I think, like, I honor Kelly for creating such a beautiful, warm home for both of these kids. And I think she's created that kind of a home for everybody that's been in her life, right? Has just the widest network and the most incredible group of friends and family and loved ones and created family that surround her. So I've always been inspired by her.
Kelly changed my life. I don't know if you know that, but you literally took me down a different path because of a text message from after a year later after we had met. Changed. Literally, that's like a very defining.
I can
moment
believe that.
I love connecting. I love
it. She's really a wonderful, beautiful, powerful spirit. And we've been for years wanting to work on something, and it has always been in the film side and the content side.
Yeah.
Let's find a project to do together. And we have some projects that we've been dancing around for a really long time. And so just the opportunity for Barely Canadian, just to be with her and to help her. I mean, it started off with like, hey, let me just help you. I want to come help sell the sweatshirts, and I love these, and I want to promote it. And I'd also been thinking, like, what do I want to do? And it's been 3 years in the making of like, what do I want to do in addition to being a filmmaker? I want to do something. I don't know what it is. I have all these skill sets. What do I want to do with it? And when this popped up, it just was something that felt right. It felt something like just soulfully, naturally, authentically felt like something I wanted to become a part of. And we had already had this friendship and a shared vision and love of the similar things, similar people. So that was an easy thing. In terms of making a film about foster care, it's an overall series about the systemic issues that are contributing to the mental health crisis of our youth today. And so we've already done 2 films. One of them was a view of the education system, and the other one was the pharmaceutical drug industry and the overprescribing of drugs for our youth today. And then because of what Kelly was doing in foster care, we were like, the foster care system is such a broken system. And it's a view of like, what are we doing to our kids?
Yeah.
And how can we tell a story through the voice of a child? Because all these films are through the voice of kids, to let them share their experience, give them a voice, empower them to take control of their destinies. Yeah. And so I think I think everything was very symbiotic. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Like, is it all synergistic in terms of how it all happened?
But I also just want to point out, in case someone like missed it, she'd been looking for something for a couple of years. She was like, what else am I doing? And I think we get stuck on, I don't know the answer. I need to and I'm sure you weren't sitting around twiddling your thumbs. You were working, you're making these films, but you had this question in your mind. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And so then when this came up, your body was like, this sounds really good. This feels really good. Oh, so it happens to be really soft. So I thank you for sharing.
It was also, can I just add, it was also like, this is for everybody. Cause you can start pulling your hair out. Like I don't know what I want to do. I have to do something, but it was also like, I want it to be a product, like a physical product that I can get behind and sell, like a product that people are going to want, a product that people are going to need, a product that they don't even know that they need, that they want. And when this happened, I was like, this is so weird. Like, this is actually the product. And I never viewed it as, oh, this is the product. It just felt like, oh my God, light bulb. Hello. This is what you've been putting out to the universe. Yeah. Energetically.
Yeah. And that's just, it goes back to what Kelly was saying earlier. It's like the path will find you. Like, it's okay if like you're not focused on it 24/7, it's going to find you. Ugh, oh my God, chills. Ladies, your ladies are freaking amazing powerhouses. And I cannot believe that Barely Canadian's only from September. I'm like, this has been around. Like
I know it's funny.
Summer line.
Yeah. We launched in September. By November, we had like a winter line. Let's get into the next season real quick. But it just kind of happened really quickly. It was so organic. It's really, everybody's reaction to the product is really, and it's not just the product, it's I dare say community, because we don't have that yet. We're so new. You guys have built this gorgeous community, and you guys are so authentic with what you're doing. And I can't say we have a community yet, but there's just an energy when people get engaged with us, and what we want to do. They want to also, participate, and so it's not when you buy one of our products that helps, a kid find a forever home, and that's a wonderful thing. But it's kind of, I don't know, I don't know how or why, and this isn't speaking very much to what you're trying to kind of touch on, because you're trying to help people understand how to get to where they need to go. Right. And so just kind of letting it be, and whatever it's going to become, I feel what it's going to become. I just can't name it yet. Right. But I do hope it's the kind of community that you guys have that's just so flush and full of heart and authenticity.
I think that you actually just explained what I'm trying to help people do. So you're literally being it till you see it, meaning you're just being, you're the love, you're the drive, you're the feeling you want people to have around you. You're already doing that until we see where this is going. So I actually think you're exactly what I want people to hear and exactly what I want people to see, because sometimes it's not as easy as acting like a CEO. Sometimes not as easy as acting like, you are the business owner. Sometimes it is a little bit more complex and a little convoluted, but you have the passion, the story, and the love. And you're literally just being all of those things to see what comes next for Barely Canadian, what comes next for all these charities and these kids. And so I thank you for
for sharing that, because I that's what I hear. I don't know, Brad, what do you think?
Yeah, well, and also I think we haven't touched on the fosterpreneur bit, so I think we're gonna have you back on to dive into that a little more, down the road. But I think, well, I'm gonna ask Lesley's question here. We ask every guest this. If you were to give our listeners one or two be it action items, be it being bold, executable, intrinsic, or targeted action items that you have been doing, or that you have tips for them when you were starting this Bailey Canadian, what would you offer them?
For me, be bold. It's just be you. You can't please everybody all the time, let alone every time, let alone any time. So do the best that you can and be you. I always like to reference that, as I always put the great American poet Snooki, you do you. You do you. I mean, the most kind of perhaps ill-equipped person to give life advice at that time when this girl was on Jersey Shores, but nonetheless, that is the most succinct way I could think of, to how to live your life. But I would also say, my dad always said, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And that's what you tend to find, in Canada, where we like to align ourselves with our great hero, Terry Fox. And you just kind of put your head down and work. And when you look up, you're often surprised what you built, but just focus on what you're doing. Put your head down, do the work. And every time you look up, you're going to be shocked. Like, wow. And now we're here. Yeah. This whole working thing, this diligence, this just focusing on the task at hand really works.
That's so true.
Love that. I love your Snooki. Something that I think about often is this quote, fear eats the soul. And so I think a lot about that, because it can be really scary to start something new and put yourself out there. And so I always put fear in my back pocket. So that would be one thing I would say is, don't let fear guide you. It's a false narrative. Show up. That's the first step. Just show up for yourself and follow your gut and stay true to your vision. Like, persistence of vision is there, and allow yourself to fall down, make mistakes, learn from the mistakes, and just keep showing up every single day.
It already feels like that's been happening with Bailey Canadian in such a good way, because of the way it's taking shape. It's really exciting.
Yeah, and that's so beautiful. Just like that. Just like put your stuff at the market. Go to get in the room. Sometimes the universe
the people that
rest.
show up that win. Truly, most people don't show up.
Yeah, just like buying a scratch and win. I'm just kidding.
Just kidding. Oh my gosh, ladies. Okay, real quick. Where can people find you? On Instagram, it's Barely Canadian.
So at Barely Canadian on Instagram, I'm at Kelly Slattery, but really I just care about at Barely Canadian. And then barelycanadian.com is our website. And if you happen to spell it with a bear instead of a bear, so BEAR versus BARELY, don't worry, you'll still land with us. We still will catch you. We got you.
way to grab the URLs. And Marisa, you're Marisa Polvino on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram and at Straight Up Impact.
Okay, I'm with Brad. We're having you back. We'll have to do the fosterpreneur and just also hear what's going on, because y'all, we are very much going to be involved with these women and what they're doing. It hits so many different passions and impacts I've wanted to make in this planet that, not always teaching Pilates can help. So being involved in different ways and collaborating is huge. And we'll share those things as they come up, but definitely check out the links in the show notes and check out Barely Canadian. Grab yourself some Smittens and a summer sweater, and you all, until next time, be it till you see it.
Be it till you see it.
Be it till you see it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
That's all I got for this episode of the Be It Till You See It podcast. One thing that would help both myself and future listeners is for you to rate the show and leave a review. And follow or subscribe for free wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, make sure to introduce yourself over at the Be It Pod on Instagram. I would love to know more about you. Share this episode with whoever you think needs to hear it. Help us and others be it till you see it. Have an awesome day.
Be It Till You See It is a production of As the Crows Fly Media.
It's written, produced, filmed, and recorded by your host, Lesley Logan, and me, Brad Crowell. Our associate producer is Amanda Fraterelli.
Kevin Perez at Diseño handles all of our audio editing.
Our theme music is by Ali at Apex Production Music, and our branding by designer and artist Gianfranco Cioffi.
Special thanks to our designer Jairo Mandal for creating all of our visuals, which you can't see because this is a podcast, and our digital producer Jay Pedroso for editing all the video each week so you can.
And to Angelina Herrico for transcribing each of our episodes so you can find them on our website. And finally, to Meredith Crowell for keeping us all on point and on time.